attend to the processing of necessary documents for education, how to support education in terms of consumables, in terms of books, in terms of materials for learning and so on. So it was a decision to have a common press, a common production platform to satisfy education sector of the Anglophone West African countries. And this company was formed in 1987 for that purpose.
Megavons West Africa is a printing firm founded in 1987 in about 5 English-speaking countries to support growth in education and learning. The aim of the management is to satisfy the education sector. Megavons has been thriving in a country where there is a nonchalant attitude by government and stakeholders towards the growth of the printing industry. Over the years, for Megavons, printing has been something of necessity. Necessity to education, necessity to information, necessity to administration, necessity to commerce. Until the advent of the emerging paperless world, everything that has to do with administration, information, education, and commerce will not go out without the impact of printing. There's no way you have a product on the shelf without your label, without your name. There's no way teacher and pupil will relate without books. There's no way you finish your course without certificate. So there's no way you buy a product without receipt. There's no way the administrator in the office in public service will do without files and then memos and letters. It was until very, very recently 100% paper world. So printing, therefore, could be said to be the lifeblood of commerce, information, education, and administration. At the present time, there is negligence on the part of stakeholders towards the printing industry. There is a lack of adequate infrastructure provision for printing in Nigeria. Rather than buying raw materials to use on foreign machines, there ought to be solid partnership to drive the copyright acquisition of titles relevant to Nigerians' need. Unless government and stakeholders provide support for printers, libraries, school and other establishments that thrive on printing materials, the future of growth in the education sector is bleak. It's a big problem that requires very simple solution, but it becomes a big problem because of very absolute negligence from the stakeholders. I wouldn't want to join others to say negligence by the government. No, government alone cannot take the blame. I will say negligence by all the stakeholders. But we'll start from the superior authority called government, because in the policy over the years, policy formation over the years, there has never been adequate attention to infrastructural provisions for printing. The way we do it is we address the derivative. We don't address the causative. Over the years, we have imported books massively, at times even distributing them free and so on. These are causative solutions. We were not like India did, 70s, 80s. In India, you couldn't get good books in those days, only books on newsprint. But they said, yes, we want to start doing our own thing ourselves. Let's start with what we can do. And rather than buying finished products, or rather than importing raw materials to come and process with imported machines, imported paper on imported machines, India signed for rights. Some other countries also did the same. You could sign for rights that all these titles are to be produced locally. Get partnership done at government level. Yes, Nigerians did it somehow, like the publishing company like Longman, McClellan, Animan, Evans. Yes, there were partnerships built by this company as private sector operators.
but they will be limited in scope because profitability and marketability are the factors to look at. Unlike government that has a policy of educating everybody, making education accessible to everybody, that is different objective from those that are in business. And in such a case, if the government had been the one driving the right acquisition, copyright acquisition of titles, there will be massive need for massive production to satisfy that. That we should have achieved during the Universal Primary Education, UP, of Obasanjo in the 70s. Also, the UBEC we have now should have been complemented with a copyright acquisition of titles that are relevant to our needs, and also a lot of support for our own local authors. Our professors, our teachers, educators should have been given that empowerment of access to fund. It could be grant, it could be so whosoever can generate idea that will transform into a textbook that is relevant to what government has put down as curriculum should one way or the other be motivated. Whether it's soft loan with moratorium, with interest free, or there are ways that other countries have done, driven infrastructure, especially provision of instructional materials. And the publishing company is supposed to have a great largesse where they will have financial access to. We have Bank of Industry, we have a Greek bank, but we don't have education bank that drives publishing. Even if they are there, they only look at giving loans maybe to schools, maybe to parents to spend, but it should be holistic. A bank driving education as a challenge should be able to provide support for publishers, support for printers, support for authors, support for libraries. All the stakeholders should be able to have access to the pot of soup that will make the family, entire family feed well. So this
Best Learn and See Services, also known as BLS, is a drilling fluid company. We are basically providing services in the area of drilling fluid mud and engineering. And as a service provider, we also do everything to do with drilling and walkover and completion. Those are the areas we specialize in. You see, for me, the Local Content Act was a welcome development in our country. So I also feel this particular bill for the petroleum should be a welcome thing, and anything that will make Nigeria, especially Nigeria and Nigerians, benefit from what is derivable from the location should be a welcome thing, and everybody should embrace it, because it is not targeted at anybody to hurt anybody. It's not saying that multinationals or international oil companies should leave. We are partners and we need a guidance that will help all of us, and their concerns should also be taken on board. I feel that should be the right way to go. Nobody should be afraid of any act, because it's supposed to be an open thing. You go to the assembly, you talk about it. There are ways to reach out to those preparing the law. You air your view and it should be taken on board. But then the Nigerian view should have, I think, a proper place. That's what I think should be the right direction. Definitely, local content has not only benefited Best Learn and See Services, it has benefited some of my sister companies like TY Chemicals, which is into oil-based, drilling-based fluid production, and also another company called Rock and Clay. They are into production of barite and calcium carbonate. So all I will say is that I will look forward to a point where more entrepreneurs will be encouraged to go into production, because there are still a lot of things to be done. In drilling, for instance, we have over 100 chemicals for drilling, and just barite and calcium carbonate and bentonite are localized. The rest are imported. So there's still room for more investors and this. And if the government will look at the environment, especially in terms of power, if the power becomes a solution to power, then I think there are a lot of investors out there who will look into it, because we are importing massively the chemicals that we use, which is not good for us. We have a huge population of youths who needs to be engaged. So if we have a huge population which are between the ages of 18 to 40 or 45, very huge population, we need those people to have work. We need to create jobs for them. And it is by production that we will create jobs for people, not by services. We need production. We need combined with services, so that the country's GDP will not be measured only by petroleum or raw material production or agriculture. Production should be there, and that's what I think. The Local Content Act has helped. It shouldn't be a threat at all. As I will keep on saying, it should not be a threat to international service providers like the likes of MI or Baker Hughes. It shouldn't be. It should also not be a replacement of those people, because the industry is big. For instance, in mud engineering, it's a huge thing. If you have a rig count of about 30 rigs, how many of us, how many mud companies are there? You can't take more than you can satisfy. You can't. So the engineers are limited also. You have limit in human resources, like the engineers, trained engineers. So you train more engineers, and it takes time to train them. Then you will also stretch yourself, because if you take more jobs than you can cope with, you will be moving engineers from one place to the other, and then you end up destroying the boys. There will be no time for them to rest. So you can imagine the impact on even the lives of the engineers. If somebody spends, let's say, 18 to 90 days on the rig, comes back and is moving to another rig, it's hazardous. So we still need the international, multinational oil mud companies to be around. They have the technology. We need to take from them. And working side by side then shouldn't hamper the economy at all. What we are saying, or what I feel personally, is that the act shouldn't be seen as sending other people out. It should be seen as a place where we can draw from each other and mutually benefit from it. The industry is big. I see it that way. It shouldn't be a place where you kick out people. No, it's big. If you look at it, it's big. It's very big. And it has room for all of us. Especially, I'm talking from as a mud company, there's room for all of us. We have only about 7 mud companies I know of, 7, if I have the count correct, about 7. How many of us can work for ExxonMobil, Shell, Snepco, Seplat, Adax? How many? Or NAOC? There's much. If all these companies are drilling or doing walkover, you have enough jobs to go around. So instead of us bickering and having fight over price war, over all manner of things to exclude somebody